YouTube, fuck it, we're live. All right, I couldn't figure out the countdown, guys. So we are here from the great Northern Hemisphere. Mark, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, good. From the Southern Hemisphere, Jenny, what's going on?
I'm not from the Southern Hemisphere. You need to work on your geography, but I'm good.
Bro, come on, whatever. Ma'am. And my buddy Richie, what's going on, buddy?
Sir.
I'm doing swimmingly. How's everyone doing?
From the Long Island Hemisphere.
It's true.
You don't know what a hemisphere is.
We're a different breed.
Is that global warming? No?
No.
All right, whatever. So we are here. We had 4 different perspectives watching NXT and AEW tonight. I had the 2 screens going on. Richie used the controller. Jenny mostly watched NXT, and Mark mostly watched AEW. So from that perspective, guys, starting with you, Jenny, what was your most, what piqued your interest the most tonight?
I think it was the crowd. I'm being honest. Like it felt like a party. Yes, it was. It was bright. It was loud. They were chanting whatever the fuck they wanted to chant, and they said "fuck" in their chants, and they said "shit" in their chants, and it was just a very attitudinal vibe from the crowd. And look, I flipped a little bit, and when I flipped over, it was like the fucking UN over there at AEW. It was dark and mostly dour, in my opinion. I'm not going to talk shit. I'm just saying, in my mind, that was the main difference in the show tonight was vibe.
All right. Speaking of a vibe, Grooney's in the chat. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Grooney?
All right. And Mark, what is your overall feelings and thoughts on tonight? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Mostly about, there's been a big buildup all week about this Tuesday Night War, and it gotten really heated, obviously, on Twitter, especially with Tony Khan putting the bald assholes thing up there today. And so just to see what both shows were obviously trying to throw out there tonight and the hype behind it. And maybe, I don't know if with just watching back and forth, but I don't know if tonight really, it was very hyped up, but I don't know if it really delivered. I don't know if the expectations maybe were too great, but maybe there was good wrestling on AEW, no doubt about it. And like the little bit I saw of NXT was good, but I don't know. They just felt like maybe, everybody threw their eggs in one basket and it didn't really click with me tonight. Maybe that's kind of the overall vibe I got out of it. I'm probably wrong, but that's okay. So that's what I think.
The vibe was, the anticipation was so strong, and it was built and built and built. So to kind of reach that expectation, you kind of had to hit a home run. But overall, I felt like I was entertained throughout the 2 shows. Now, Richie, what's your first thing that pops in your head about tonight?
First thing that pops up is just, for me personally, stress, because I was going back and forth. I didn't have the 2 monitor thing going. But again, it was a fun night. That's pretty much the vibe of the whole show for me, or the shows for me, was just fun. And it was fun in 2 completely different ways. Because with WWE NXT, they were calling this the biggest or greatest NXT of all time. And they definitely did deliver on that aspect. And on the flip side, you had AEW, which always puts out a solid show performance. And I feel like a lot of their matches delivered. And it was just a different sort of vibe than NXT tonight. Not in a negative or bad way. It's just like a different vibe, and it almost felt like the energies from like the black and gold NXT and when AEW was first starting was kind of shifted into the other direction, because you had the NXT that was more colorful, like Dynamite used to be in 2019. And now AEW Dynamite seems a little bit more darker in comparison to the current version of NXT. So I just thought that was pretty interesting just watching it.
That could have been the crowds for both of them, honestly. Try to dim those crowds. But my overall feeling was I believe that both shows were kind of true to themselves. AEW resting on their laurels with the hard-hitting in-ring action, longer matches, true to themselves. And NXT just bringing back the stars. And like Jenny alluded to earlier, just a party vibe. And I thought that was the correct vibe for tonight, was the move, 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 bang, 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 and just really emphasize the stars of the past to put a stamp on the future stars. But overall, AEW, I know Bryan and Swerve was an excellent match. Switchblade, And Hangman, not really necessarily my guys, but they felt like they were trying to go for a pay-per-view quality match in the middle of the show, opposed to a NXT's, back and forth of just energy. It just felt like that middle portion of Hangman versus Switchblade. Now, mix in the MJF nauseating promo at the end, just felt like an absolute miss of a 30 minutes. That's a quarter of your show. We may have had the pay-per-view quality match, or so they thought they were going to have, but just to add that extra promo at the end just felt like that's where they kind of hit the brakes for me a little bit. But overall, I would start AEW peaking early on with that Bryan match. And just overall, NXT, I don't really think they had a high. I just think they had a consistent, they were in the speed limit on the expressway. You guys have the expressways in your hemisphere? But overall, they were hitting the speed limit at 65 the whole time and just cruising through that whole show.
It's 50 here, but that's okay.
65 in Mass, but we usually go 70
kilometers too. It's not a big deal, but it's okay.
What is a kilometer? Okay.
We'll Google that.
But
later.
yeah, they mixed it up with the cool throwbacks. We got Cena, we got from Cena to Taker. Okay, it was a lot. It was a lot with the throwbacks, but they really mixed in all the new and fresh talent that NXT uses every single week. They had that really cool Chase U segment. That was really funny. And then I thought Cody Rhodes, as his role as bullshit GM for one night, I think that's real dumb, but he was really good at it.
It's pretty smart to have him throughout the show too.
God forbid me get won over by Cody Rhodes, but tonight was a long way. It went a long way in getting me more on the road to Rhodes. I don't know.
I get what you're saying there. All right, we got a comment here for you, Mark.
Oh, fuck.
Mark rules. Way to go, Mark.
Steve.
Got fans.
Yeah, one of my friends, and he's just being a dick, but whatever, that's fine. Look up Matt Bison on YouTube for shitty wrestling. He used to be a wrestler, so I'll throw that out there for that. Sorry, I digress, as Taz would say.
So could Steve or Mark or whoever you were talking about, could he have gotten squashed by Wardlow as effective as Evan Bourne or whatever his name is now did?
Steve's put on a little bit of weight since his wrestling days, so I don't know if that he might have Wardlow. He'll have to get up for Wardlow for sure, so I don't know. Oh. He's gonna. Sorry, Steve, for burying you.
Well, he did bury him. All right, so let's kind of start now that we kind of threw our overall thoughts and what kind of jumps to our mind about these two shows. Let's hit the first 15 minutes. On the AEW side, we got Christian in the truck. I thought that was a really cute way to get the show flowing and to set the tone and be a bookmark for this whole AEW show. Christian starting, Christian closing, and then leading right into Swerve Bryan for the first 20 minutes. So Swerve and Bryan went 20 minutes, ending at 8:22, opposed to Cody's opening segment for 8:15. So those were kind of the two templates of going there. And then Asuka completed the whole commercial first quarter of the show was Roxanne versus Asuka. So who do you think, Richie, let's start with you. Overall, who do you think had the better approach? AEW with the Swerve match or NXT with the Cody and Asuka match? Asuka match, excuse me.
I think for the fact that Cody was built up by WWE throughout the week about having these huge announcements and then him doing a cliffhanger of having more than one announcement was definitely the better approach, in my opinion, because it's always about the surprise. It's always about hooking the viewers to watching your product longer. And with Swerve and Bryan, if you wanted to watch a 20-minute match, 15, 20-minute match, that's exactly what you're going to get. But with Cody Rhodes, then you had Dragunov come out. So you had Cody and Dragunov. You had Cody shine Dragunov as the NXT champion. So viewers who don't usually watch NXT are introduced to essentially your main character of the show. Then you have Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley enhancing that. And then you had Cody developing his story throughout the show, being the special guest GM. So that was probably the better approach, in my opinion. AEW started off strong with Christian Cage in the producer's truck because they haven't really done that before. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's something different. And then they just threw it to the match, which was, again, fine. But with the Swerve Bryan match, we all expected a good match. And I think that's the best way to put the two approaches. Dynamite, we kind of expected what was going to happen with all these great matches. With NXT, we weren't expecting anything out of the we weren't expecting the usual from all these different superstars like Cody, like Cena, like Taker, like all these guys. We didn't know what they were going to do. So I think that was NXT's strong point.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, they kind of rested on their laurels, and I think that was strong. Now, Mark, do you think Swerve and Bryan was the right choice to open the show as a match?
Yeah, I think it was, because obviously they're trying to attract the viewers right at the top, and I guess Bryan is definitely one of your top stars, and I think they also wanted to showcase Swerve, who is obviously getting the push right now, even though in defeat, they had a way out for him and continuing to feud with Hangman. So I definitely think it was, and I thought it was a great match as well. And I just think, yeah, you got to lead off with something hot like that. I mean, could it have been a better match? Absolutely, but I still thought it was a really strong match to start the show for AEW tonight.
And Jenny, I know you're from the Southern Hemisphere, not the Northern Hemisphere, but with your jackets, do your jackets have the feathers and pizzazz that Ilya Dragunov jacket presented himself later on in the night?
Not quite. It was very European, as you put it. So, yeah, no, I don't have any feather jackets. Y'all the ones
come up to Canada, you'll see a lot of feather jackets. I promise you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Inside the coat, not outside of the coat.
You see it all.
But I thought Cody, and this could have been just me, but I thought that Cody looked very impressed with what Dragunov was doing.
Yeah.
In the first segment of the show.
Do you felt that
Ilya
kind of lived up to the star? Well, obviously Cody's a much bigger star, but do you think Ilya kind of matched it on a leveling? And do you think
I think he surprised Cody with his skill, and he actually surprised me with his skill, because look, I didn't know he could do that really on the mic. I thought he was very good. Yeah,
he's very European, whatever that means,
Yes, something.
And then, Jenny, the next match coming out of here, as your boy Grooney would say, you really enjoyed that bar fight.
I really did enjoy that.
It was actually really good tone-setting fun for NXT.
It really was.
And it probably wasn't on the par with, an AEW type of high bar match tonight.
Oh, like a Cracker Barrel match, maybe.
All right, for sure. But I thought that it was good fun and it fit the aura of this show. Now, Richie, were you on the clicker on this time from, we'll call it 8:40-ish? Were you on the bar fight, or were you kind of looking at Hobbs and Jericho?
I was looking at Hobbs and Jericho mostly, because for the bar fight, I kind of knew what I was going to expect there. Like, we're going to see a lot of cool bar spots. I saw the picture-in-picture with the pool cue action, and it was actually funny. Like, when I was switching back and forth, Hobbs hit Jericho with a spine buster, and then when I switched to NXT, Ridge Holland spine bustered one of Gallus through a trash can. So I was like, oh, they were watching each other's shows. But I was curious with Hobbs, because I've been a big fan of Hobbs. I just wasn't a big fan of how AEW was kind of positioning him, because he was a part of Team Taz. That kind of fizzled out. Then he was kind of on his own. Then he did the Book of Hobbs, which I thought was a pretty cool character change. And then he went to QTV. They didn't really do anything with him. He won the TNT Championship. Didn't really fulfill his potential, in my opinion, with that. And then he joined the Don Callis family. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. And then I saw Hobbs and Jericho. I'm like, all right, let me check this out. I thought the match could have been a little bit shorter, just because it kind of the pacing was kind of off. And I heard Jericho call the finish spot saying, "Cover me with your face, like cover me on my face," and that's what Hobbs did. Yeah, and overall, it was fine. Nothing harmless.
Put over Hobbs 9 minutes. Overall.
Put over Hobbs over as a threat, which he should be. With the positioning he's getting, and I'm hopeful for him. And Jericho put him over pretty strong from that match. So that was where my attention was mostly going. But then I caught the end of the barroom brawl, and that was pretty fun too.
Yeah, for sure. Now, had you at this point about 40 minutes into the show, Mark, have you checked out any NXT or where are you at with that?
Yeah,
Just
I had AEW on my TV and I had NXT on my iPad, so I was kind of like glancing on to my right when I was kind of watching it on the TV. But I did catch some of the barroom pub fight, like especially the spot where he got the dart in the hand. I thought I enjoyed that immensely. But
Yeah.
I was obviously I checking out Hobbs too, seeing where he was going, and he pretty much, it wasn't a squash, but it was more very one-sided. And I don't know if you guys heard mentioned during later in the show, they said that Jericho went to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a shoot or not, but I'm assuming it's not. But really putting over Hobbs big time, which Richie said, like the start and stop with Hobbs has been interesting and kind of frustrating for him, I'm sure. But I was mostly focused on that. But I did catch him in the barroom fight, and it was pretty good from what I saw, and saw the finish as well.
Yeah, I think I'm very optimistic on Hobbs' future. It's a great look.
Mm-hmm.
He has some natural charisma. He has actually a lot of in-ring charisma. So it's just like I'm glad that they can kind of get him focused. And I think Callis is the perfect guy for him. And being the biggest guy in that group, he's kind of setting him up nicely there. So we'll see. I'm optimistic for him. I hope he does well. Then after this, we kind of roll right into Rey Fenix versus Orange Cassidy. Now, Mark, I don't believe we've had a commercial break yet from AEW.
No, we didn't. And sadly for me, I was having some internet issues during this match. So everybody might be able to fill in the blank better for me. But I was really looking forward to it, and I will definitely go back and watch the full thing at the time. But as far as I know, and from what I saw, there was no commercial break, because they did say during the pre-show that they were going to go 30 minutes plus with no commercial break. So I think they almost went to 40, if I'm not mistaken.
They went 46, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought too. Yeah, because we up here they just went to picture in picture during that Tony Storm thing, so I wasn't sure if that was being shown up there than it was compared down here. I thought TSN just might have given up and like, we need some money. Our sports channel up here that it aired on, so I wasn't really sure. So that's a perspective from up here on that one.
Yeah. Now, Jenny, is this the first time that you've ever seen Lila Valkyrie with that little promo in the video package promo in the backstage interview she had? Is this your first time seeing Lyra?
It is my first time seeing her.
What did you think?
She's interesting, right? I think she has a good look. Yeah, she does, and some sort of built-in backstory there for her. And I thought they did a great job presenting it to people like me, who's tuning in only really sporadically, to kind of catch us up on her.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and I believe she has I believe a Halloween Havoc match with Becky. Am I right there, Richie?
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a pretty big spot for her. I know probably Becky is kind of in the mode right now, kind of picking who she wants to work with, and like Lila Valkyrie has her kind of chance in front of her. And then we had it ending with Tegan Nox, and then they did some Mean Girl stuff and yada yada yada. Well, Jenny, that led to a John Cena promo, and this is where I feel that the show kind of picked up, and kind of where AEW kind of bet on themselves, but I'm not sure if it was kind of the correct bet. But honestly, I don't know what you're going to do against a John Cena promo in this atmosphere to kind of match the excitement and the whole NXT vibe. Because when they went to the party, this was like the true party hour of the NXT show right here. Is John Cena's first entrance. Let's just hit on that real quick, Jenny. How did it feel for John Cena being in such a small atmosphere? I felt like he was enjoying himself.
He looked like he was having a fucking blast, and the crowd just loving on him so much. And I'm a huge Cena mark, so I was right there with them. I was so happy that they gave him love and that he felt the love. And then he felt the hate when somebody heckled him in the crowd, and then he called them out. He's just a fucking legend. He's awesome. And he just ate it. Like, he just ate all of that. It was perfect. It was the most John Cena thing I've ever seen.
To match Cena's energy, I will say that they were able to kind of grab him and focus him. So he, like, his corny dad tendency vibes didn't really necessarily come out tonight. Like his dad mannerisms and his like wonkiness didn't necessarily come out because he was so like struck
He
by the
just seems
crowd.
so excited by it.
Yeah. Now,
Charmed
Richie,
by
let's
it.
talk. Let's talk commercials real quick. So,
Mhm.
leading into John Cena, NXT took their first commercial break, and it was a 5-minute just blank commercial break. They just threw 5 minutes of commercials at us just to kind of catch up on their quota. And during that time, that was the closing of the Phoenix OC match, where OC, sorry, Mark, but won the title back. No surprise there. But coming out of the OC match, they threw to a Tony Storm performance where it was a silent film. And I want to say they went on commercial for about a good 3 to 4 minutes, and half of it was Tony Storm just walking around and kind of just being a mute and doing Tony Storm things. So that's where we're at, about 50 minutes into each show, finally concluding with commercials. Overall, Mark, let's just real quick. Do you think that the commercial thing was a success? And I think it hampered NXT later in the night, but I think it was kind of a success more for NXT coming out of the commercial with John Cena. Do you think it worked for AEW?
Probably not. I don't think so. They're coming back as John Cena. What are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
you know, they call him the greatest of all time, and I'm a huge Cena market myself, and I was more worried, just wanted to hear what he had to say. So I mean, for AEW, they just had to throw, I believe, Wardlow out there at that time, and what can you do? So I mean, it didn't matter what they put on; they could have put on, the best match of all time, like Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. And I think they'll still lose that quarter because John Cena is coming out there in that environment that Jenny said, like, was, he probably hasn't been in an environment like that since One Night Stand in Hammerstein Ballroom. You know what I mean? So for him, that was probably a ball. So I think AEW are really going to take that one on the chin, and that the commercial break thing might hurt them big time.
All right. So real quick before we get to you, Richie, let's just catch up on the AEW side here. Coming out, they had the Wardlow squash for a minute. Renee to the Jericho announcement where you said, and then they started with the Hangman and Switchblade entrances. And then leading into that, we had John Cena. Richie, what did you think of the John Cena thing? Johnny touched on the vibe, but what did you think of the context of John Cena just kind of putting over the young stars and whatever and whatnot?
I will give WWE credit for the John Cena coming up next promo before his promo, because that was their first actual commercial break. And what better hook to lead into than your first commercial break than John Cena coming up after the break. For the context of the John Cena promo, just putting over the NXT, just putting over all the stars are coming to NXT because NXT is family to WWE, which is a dramatic contrast to a couple years ago when NXT was this kind of like outside, like little third brand, like little kid brother, but now our kid brother has kind of grown up. So now we have all these different superstars coming back to give back to NXT, like a Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, and now John Cena. And with Braun Breaker coming up here, and they used the current WWE superstars really well throughout the night. And this is what AEW does with the wrestling legends on their show, or which I compliment them too. Like you had Sting with Darby, but now you had John Cena with Braun, John Cena with Carmelo, you had Becky with Lyra. You had all these stars enhancing the presence of the current NXT roster around them. And that's what this night was about. Just promoting the future of WWE NXT and putting the spotlight on them along with these superstars. And it kind of felt like one giant big WWE reunion show without calling it, the 30th anniversary of Raw. And this is what an anniversary show should be about. And it wasn't even an anniversary show. This is what you should do with established talent, is give that shine off to younger talent. And they gave Braun a lot of great moments tonight. They gave Carmelo a lot of great moments tonight. Lyra had a wonderful moment because that video package, WWE second to none when it comes to video packages. And if I didn't know Lyra Valkyrie before, that video package right there, it's like, all right, that's her backstory. That's her character. All right, let's go. With AEW, it was more just kind of focused in ring. And that's good, but that formula can only last for so long. And that's why I think NXT gets the edge at this point in the show.
Mm-hmm. So we're officially halfway there. Mark, halfway there. and they kind of throw a 20-minute match with us with Hangman and Switchblade. How much of this match did you catch?
I got all this match.
Okay.
My technical difficulties resolved themselves, so I got to see this match. I thought it was definitely good, but like you said earlier about putting trying to do this main event match in the middle of the card, and the just kind of it sucked the air out of probably the arena, and it kind of out of me too, kind of thing. I mean, I might be the only Jay White fan in the universe. If Sean Kidd had any saying about it in our chat earlier. But I'm also a Hangman fan as well. So, I mean, I was looking forward to seeing these guys go again from their time in New Japan as well. So I'm a big fan of both. So I thought they had a pretty good match, but, it just kind of sucked the air. And then as we'll get into, I'm sure the MJF promo was another whiff on his part. And I think that maybe it killed the enjoyment of my match afterwards, because I'm more focused on, his lame, give me my belt back. That's not a baby face to me. That's just it was just a cowardly thing, even though I know that's sort of his gimmick still kind of, but just give me my belt back. And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, all right, I'll see you soon. Well, maybe I'll get it then. And calling his friend, and it was just, I don't know, it kind of, I think that was a miss of a segment for me there, the whole thing.
Mark, you're not alone.
Thank you, Logan. I appreciate you, dude.
Logan,
I love that picture of Logan also.
But Logan might want to switchblade that picture. But just kidding, buddy.
I will say with MJF's promo, I thought it started off really well. This is when I was still flipping back and forth between everything, and MJF did a wonderful job, I thought. Just kind of in the beginning, I'm just oh wow, just kind of a quick to the point promo. I turned to NXT, watched NXT what felt like 5-10 minutes, and I switched back, and the promo was still kind of going on. So I'm
did the same thing.
And then they brought the quarters thing about when he talked about before, I mean, being Jewish, and it kind of got really right at the end there, and he stormed off. I felt very uncomfortable about it, especially with things going on across the world right now, kind of thing. I guess it kind of hit home to him, kind of thing. I don't know. That felt very unnecessary, and they brought it up really hard in commentary about that in his childhood, which he's brought up before, and it just took it down another notch for me personally, I guess. So
to touch on that real quick, it was very deliberate. They wrote
Friedman on the quarters, so
it's just
they zoomed right in on the name, and pissed him off obviously, and he just yelled in the mic and screamed. I forget what he said, but then he just buggered off, and they were very somber on commentary, bringing it up. It was just, and then you go over to NXT, and like Jenny says, the color, the vibe, the party. I guess you can have the drama in wrestling, obviously, but maybe not tonight. Was not the night when you're going up against a loaded NXT show and the Undertaker and all this other jazz that's going on over there. It was probably not the right time. I just lost everything, and I apologize. 1 second there. Sorry.
Yeah. Just sort of to add to that, it felt like they were trying to erase the last week's promo of the tofu promo, absolutely. I guess. So this was the dramatic shift they were trying to make for the storyline, and it was just one of those things that, like you said, kind of felt uncomfortable just kind of watching it. And it was hyping up the Dynamite, Battle Royal, and that, I understand you're trying to make the match mean something, and Juice Robinson just saying I'm entering just to kind of get into MJF's head. It's just one of those things where, again, time and a place, so is what it is.
And I don't know, it just kind of the whole world politics of it all. How does that get through, really? But that's for another. It's so stupid. That's for another day. It just feels like MJF was just trying to be too edgy there, and it just
again, 2 weeks in a row missing. They can't find the happy balance of where they want this to be, and they better find. I mean, they got time, November 18th or whatever. So but they gotta find something quick, because otherwise nobody's gonna be by that one.
All right, before we get any more somberance, let's bring the party back up and start talking about NXT. So going against this, it's the match that Cody made earlier, where it was Dominic Mysterio challenging Ilya Dragunov with his feathers, accompanied by Rhea Ripley and your special guest referee, LA Knight. That was a cute little nugget to sneak in there at the last minute.
It was very cute.
If I ever referee a match, I'm going to wear a vest, Timberlands, and sunglasses. I think I kind of
As
have
everyone
to now.
should.
That was quite the vibe, Jenny. Just
Look,
a fun,
who's hotter than
hard-hitting.
LA Knight right now? Nobody.
What's hotter than LA Knight? Put some shine on Ilya. Continuously put the main roster shine on your new NXT champion. The Judgment Day theatrics.
Dom and Rhea were in lockstep with each other. They were. I was watching Dom and Rhea most of this match because they're just connected in this weird, amazing way. And she adds so much when she's doing nothing, which is incredible. And then even Dragunov, I thought, this was fucking great. He was fucking great. This was a stupid great match. I wasn't expecting that, and they completely over delivered.
With LA Knight being your hottest guy in the company right now, and those guys still shining within this match, kudos to all those guys right there. Richie, I haven't really asked you yet. What's your overall thoughts on Dom Mysterio? Is it working? What's his future? Is the sky the limit with him?
Absolutely. You people need to remember that this guy has been in the around the business since he was very young. So we've seen a lot of second, third generation superstars who hit, and we've seen a lot more that miss. And Dominic Mysterio is the one that hit right as he turned to the Judgment Day, and that really had him opening up and him not being like a carbon copy of Rey Mysterio really helped him with that. The more different you could be from your first generation father's legacy it's only going to help you more, to help you distinguish yourself. Look at Dusty Rhodes and Goldust, two polar opposites when it comes to the character. And with Dominic Mysterio in ring, he's improving every time he's in there with all these people. And Ilya Dragunov, I was kind of the opposite with Jenny. I was just looking at Ilya Dragunov because his facial expressions were phenomenal. His selling, phenomenal. And it might be a controversial opinion, but I think he's the best in-ring competitor in the entire company right now. Just because of his facials, just because of the way he moves. He's acting like he's really in a fight, and he's making his opponent's offense look good. He's making his own offense look believable. He has probably the most deadly finisher in the business, in my opinion. Two of them, the torpedo and the forearm deal, So I think the sky's the limit with him, and I'm so glad he's still in NXT, Ilya Dragunov, just so we could get more showcase matches with him in it. But going back to Dom Mysterio, yeah, I think he's proving week in and week out that he, just because the crowd hates him, that doesn't mean that he is not deserving of the spot that he's in right now, because he's improving from leaps and bounds. Because if you look at him a year ago till now, it's night and day.
Yep. This was probably the best match on NXT, perhaps the pub fight, if whatever you kind of want to go with there, but they kind of either that, probably one of those two were probably the match of the night here. Yes. If you were to check out a match from NXT, so to speak, Mark. But overall, so far we're going good. Then we get a Dijak and Corbin set up a triple threat next week for the winner of the main event for a match at Halloween Havoc. Cody Rhodes just out here GMing his ass off, guys. The Bada Boom realist guys. No, hold on. The Bada Boom 10-man battle royal coming up next week too. I don't want to forget about that. I just like Cody.
That was adorable. It was adorable.
Interacting with every guy here, putting his vibe and his spin with everyone's character. I don't want to say coming down to meet everyone within their character work, but just adopting himself and adapting himself to everyone's aura and spice and vibrance. I thought he did a great job tonight. And in hindsight, making him the GM of the night and putting him on TV throughout the night was a smart move, as people would tune in to constantly see him.
And also gives a whole narrative throughout the night. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It has this one flowing narrative. It gives you this one story to follow throughout the night, which Dynamite seems to lack, because Dynamite feels like a very separate individual segment show. I could tell you what segment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, with this, it's more of a, with NXT, it was more of a flowing, like, okay, we're going to go here and Cody's going to go here. Oh, what's happening with John? What's happening back here? You know what I mean? So it felt more like a connected universe than Dynamite kind of felt like everyone was separated into their own stories, which isn't bad. But if I'm watching an entire TV show, an ensemble TV show, I want some of my favorite people to kind of interact with each other.
Yeah, AEW is more like a collection of matches put together, and NXT
An anthology. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, we get Mello with Cena. Richie or Jenny, did either of you kind of catch what happened with Trick and Cena? What did Trick ask Cena? And Cena was like, all right, come with me. I'll tell you what's going on. I missed that part.
I actually think I did too.
So Trick came in and he asked Cena, because they were in the locker room with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes went to get changed into his match. And Trick asked John, hey, John, when do you know when it's your time? And John just kind of looks at him. He smiles and he's like, let's go have a talk. And then they walked off screen. You know, so it's kind of teasing that Carmelo Trick feud possibly, you know, and whether it's going to be like one turning heel or them just like trying to break off respectfully against each other. It continues that story that NXT was building off from the weeks and sometimes months prior with this story. And that's what this show did too. Not only did it bring all these major stars back, but it also referenced stories that NXT was building throughout the whole weeks and months prior to this. Like you even had JC Jane and Thea Hale from Chase U. That story is still going strong. So it's like you still had that connected universe of NXT before all these stars are happening, and these stars are now enhancing that those stories. So I thought it would work great.
And the last segment of connected segments we got here on NXT is Jay Cargill showing up and greeting by Shawn Michaels. Mark, did you happen to catch a glimpse of Jay?
I actually did catch a glimpse, because if you see Jade, I think you're going to stop everything you're doing and kind of miss over what you're doing. So I 100% turned over and saw that. I was like, okay, you know, they are really bringing out all the guns out tonight. That was not a, you know, what kind of boob joke or anything like that. I just meant that they were bringing everybody out.
It was an arm. It was guns like this, right?
Those guns, yeah, not the other ones. So see, Jenny, I can be awkward. I told everybody this, so that's fine.
That was good.
Thank you. But yeah, no, she's a star, and you know, she goes to Raw, which is the talk. Then you know, she's gonna be pushed to the moon, and you know, her and Becky probably sooner than later, maybe if they go that route, you know, maybe she's the one that dethrones her for NXT title and she keeps it on Raw. Maybe they do that. I don't know, but you know, she's a huge star for them, and it's a big get.
Yes. And then this is where we would collide as we kind of get around 9:25, 9:30. This is where we have the colliding women's segments here. On the AEW side, we have Paige in a stunning defeat, losing the NXT.
Get it right, man. Come on, Saraya.
Sheeta, whatever. Paige, whatever. Saraya.
Her name sucks.
It does suck. It's real name.
It's Paige, whatever. Now, Mark, no pun intended with the names.
No, that's totally right.
Were you surprised? I was pretty surprised to have Saraya already drop it.
I did not expect this at all. I thought, you know, Paige would get. Now I got to say it. Damn it. Saraya. I thought Saraya was going to hold on, and I figured that was going to go back to her and Tony down the line, but Tony came out and with her shoe and beat up Ruby, and then they got more of the paint gimmick on Sheeta, and then Sheeta got the win, and I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah, and another Tony Storm segment leading into this commercial break, whatever. So, whatever.
It was a silent picture for me too, so I didn't know.
It works. I like it. I think Tony Storm has finally found her footing.
I think she's great. I like the new gimmick. I think it's working. It's catching on. I think it's gonna be big for her.
And
can I just ask maybe what the point of it might be?
Tricks, old guard.
Yeah, she filmed that.
It looks like the Vaudevillains for me, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree. She filmed that movie about. She was filming that movie. It's about old wrestlers from the 50s and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that's where she got the idea.
Oh, okay. Like a shoot movie?
Yeah, you know, yeah. I forget who it's about. Not not Joyce Grable. Somebody on chat maybe can look it up or whatever. But it was supposed to be Charlotte was supposed to be in the movie. Your girl. But yeah, I do remember reading this in the Observer. She was supposed to be in the movie, but then she was mysteriously taken out, probably by Vince, and they got her.
Seriously.
I believe, and Camille from NWA was may have taken Charlotte's spot in that movie, but I know Toni Storm's in it too. That's why she's had the hair already kind of looking like old stylish. So I think that's where she probably thought, hey, maybe I can run with this and do something with it, and probably went to Tony, and they started doing it. So I think it's working, and I think it's getting over, chin up, out, watch for the shoe. It's brilliant.
Well, also it kind of plays off the fact. It also plays off the fact of when she lost the AEW Women's Championship. Sometimes when somebody loses a championship, they don't really get much character development, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's usually like, oh, I just want my championship back. With Toni, it's turned her into this downward spiral where she thinks she's like one of those washed up Hollywood stars of the past, like a and now she's like trying to convince everyone that she's not past her prime, when she's just like trying to like cling on to her final moments of glory, even though she's in her 20s. Which is fun. And I thought the picture-in-picture breaks were pretty clever, like with her character. I know on Collision she did like she rolled to the picture-in-picture saying
we back with very important message from our sponsors,
for our sponsors, and then like all
she handed a script out last week to everybody at ringside, and it was
cute.
It was cute.
It's one of those things where it's like it's catching on, and it's catching on well within the audience, and it's a character that I would find myself WWE actually doing too. So I think that's what's going to be kind of the direction of Dynamite, are all these different characters catching on, like the Roderick Strong, who had the video package today too, with his neck strong character, even though his neck is completely fine. You know what I mean? So it's just like little things like that help build on these personas that aren't known for having a character, now have that character. So that's a kind of cool point in Dynamite for me personally.
Yeah. Now, Jenny, back to NXT here. Going against the women of AEW was the breakout tournament, Lola Vice versus Danny Palmer. What did you think of seeing the first glimpses of these two girls?
I thought it was quite the match. Not a lot of time. It was lively. I thought Vice, she looked all right. A lot of these
8 minutes, which is surprising.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's clear that they're breakout stars. They're not, putting on classics or whatever. But I thought it was very. I don't want to say proficient, because that makes it sound boring, but it fit within the theme of the night, and they pretty much nailed it. I mean, it's clear they're working their asses off, and they put on a great match.
I would say it was a pretty well rehearsed PC high-end match, if to kind of put it in that way. For where they're at, they kind of knocked it out of the park. I thought pretty proficient. I thought it was kind of low-key more interesting and more entertaining than Shida and Saraya.
Yeah, I definitely turned it away from them to watch this. Yes.
All right, Logan's going to catch us up right here.
Thank you. Mildred Burke, thank you. Yes, that's exactly. Thanks, Logan.
I don't know who that is, but I'm interested in Toni Storm's acting abilities. Because she's not impressed me thus far in wrestling. So,
not a big fan of the pie face match. But anyways, Jenny, and right after this match is where we had that glorious Chase U segment that you talked about earlier. I am a fan of Chase U. Mark, what's your vibe on Chase U? You like him? Do you think it's a good fit?
All I see when I see Andre Chase is Bravado Brothers, so it's kind of hard for me to just kind of associate that. Especially I've watched a lot of Honor Club recently and watching their matches and stuff like that. So I mean, it's fine. I mean, I like the
dark match guys from ROH.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But I mean, just besides that, I think it's kind of cute and in its own way, and it's over with the audience. So I mean, what do I know? Like, I like the breaking off. What's her name? The Hall. I like that. Breaking off to, this bad, going with the bad girl and going to the mall and getting a new outfit or whatever. Like that's good character development for her to, what's probably going to happen where she's just going to turn on it and go back to being a babyface again kind of thing. They're going to lead her back to the house, back to the school thing. So probably what's going to happen. So I enjoy it. It's fun for what it is.
I have a question. On these NXT segments, do they typically let them just curse? Because they cursed all over it, and it was so fucking funny to me. I was like,
the timing is great on it. I was trying to think of transition.
So perfect.
Usually with the Chase U segments, usually with Chase U segments, you'll have like someone like like the bleep cursing, with that. And my favorite part of Chase U is personally Duke Hudson. I think he's tremendously talented, and I think his facial expressions are wonderful. And I can easily see him being a future champion, not only in NXT, but on the main roster itself.
It was better than the poker gimmick that he had before that. So, yeah, I think
he's really grown a lot. He was pegged as a guy, as one of the next big guys in the big pandemic. Remember, they stuck him with MVP when MVP was kind of like a manager. And they were like, all right, well, here's the Aussie guy from TM61. And here is Verk.
Adnan Verk, yes.
Well, no, that was the announcer.
The commentator.
Brandon, I don't know. They gave him a weird generic jobber name, but ended up being Duke Hudson. And he didn't click, but I remember them definitely thinking his future's bright. And just to see him grow within Chase U, coming back as the poker guy when 2.0 started was just really a miss. He kind of always had this weird natural charisma, but here is Chase U as like a gaslighter, and he's just grown into this ultimate babyface, and he is a great hot tag. He's one of the best hot tags in NXT, which is wild.
I mean, when you're 6'5", the sky's the limit when you're in WWE, and plus he has, and he has the talent too. It's not just height; it's also personality, which he has a lot of. So I can't wait to see what else he can do in NXT.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, and that brought us to the main event on NXT, which we'll touch in a second. And then falling off of that with AEW, we had Tony Khan's big announcement. Again, he announced during the show on Twitter that he had an announcement. And that announcement was they're going to donate AEW toys that they have an abundance of to Toys to Tots. And it's going to be $1 million worth of donations. So that's cool.
Back on that one. What a guy.
It's cool. Cool cause.
I don't know if he had to announce that he had an announcement to he could have just said it, and it is what it is. But I guess they're in a war and yada, 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 and whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. But that also, you had a follow-up with Renee with MJF, and then you kind of had the Acclaimed and Max Caster kind of risen, as the kids would say, trying to riz MJF. And Billy Gunn is like, what is up with this behavior with you with MJF? So they are bringing Max
a real life thing into the storyline now. Yeah.
Thirstiesness on Twitter, on TV for MJF. So I'm kind of here for that. I find that very entertaining. And Caster alluded to, they kind of grew together at Kurt Hawkins's Create a Pro. So.
And also a cool thing about this story-wise is MJF is learning how to have friends, and now he's learning he could have multiple friends, like Adam has multiple friends with Roddy. So I think this will be a good development for MJF and a possible turn from Adam Cole, since MJF got his own friends. So
yeah, so it's should be good character growth for MJF, but your boy kind of needs a little writing. Needs kind of someone to put a thumbprint and a pulse on MJF. Yeah, he can't really do it necessarily himself. He's kind of in the mud a little bit, as so you would speak, right?
But I thought he used to be a genius. How is MJF in the fucking mud? Like, I don't get it.
Maybe it's just being a babyface. I don't think he's comfortable with it yet. He's just more natural. He's just a natural heel, and it's probably what he's doing the most of his career, right?
I wouldn't go that far to say he's in the mud. It's just trying to find footing, because we've seen a lot of people turn from heel to babyface, and it takes a little while to kind of get comfortable with it. I know Miz is another one that kind of gets a little bit troubled when he turns from heel to face, just because, again, he's not a very likable guy. Same thing with Sammy Guevara to a certain extent. But I think MJF is just in the process of finding his voice as a face. So
Well,
sometimes it's naturally,
yeah.
Sometimes it's natural for people like LA Knight. Other times it takes some time. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll take some time, but I have no doubt he's going to get there.
I agree with you there, but sometimes you get a little tready in the mud before you kind of catch your footing a little bit.
Yeah,
It's all right.
That's okay, though. Yeah.
Your boy could use a little humbling. I'm still a huge fan. I do believe he is the future of this business and most likely that company.
Mhm.
Well, that led to a Luchasaurus entrance with Christian, and we got a beautiful 5-minute promo for Christian, proving he is one of the top guys in this company, in this wrestling industry, and Beth Phoenix better change her sheets because those things are getting wet when he gets home.
Daddy's coming home.
Is that what he
Daddy's
meant by
home.
that? Jesus Christ.
No, Mark, do I have to touch any more of that promo? Or
No, Christian's the best. The turtleneck's the best. He's the best. I've been thinking that for years. Even when he was in TNA and I was at the first TNA house show in Plymouth, Michigan, and I was standing in line for Captain Charisma t-shirt in 2006 or whatever it was. He's the man, and he always will be the man. So I'm glad everybody's catching up to speed with Christian now. He's the best.
And to think, people were disappointed in his signing at first.
Oh, people were furious about it.
So it's like I did a podcast with my buddy, and it was about why Christian is a legend. This is before the turtleneck deal. So I'd just like to say, I'm glad everyone is finally in agreement that Christian is one of the GOATs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave it at that. And plus him just sitting on the chair during the whole match on the ramp was wonderful. And him grimacing.
All right, and then on the NXT side, leading to the main event, we had Braun Breaker with Heyman, and then we had Carmelo with Cena entrance with a commercial, a long 6-minute commercial with a Pillman vignette. Jenny, would you like to hit on the Brian Pillman Jr. vignette? King is his last name. I forget the first name. Lyron. I don't fucking know.
Lexus.
Lexus,
I thought this was genius. He basically is in a dark room watching footage of his dad and then says, you know what? I lost him when I was 4 and that ain't my daddy. And it was edgy. It was harsh. Like it was the thing that went against the vibe of the night, right? It took you, it was like, woo, it was a lot of attitude in a very short little segment, but I thought he nailed it. At first I was like, okay, I don't really care much about anybody from AEW coming to NXT/WWE. Now you've got me excited about 2 of those people coming over. So that's pretty effective.
It's funny you say that because everybody that they showed on NXT that jumped from AEW to WWE was there. You had Cody, you had Brian Pillman Jr., you had Jade Cargill, and I believe Bae Priestley was with Asuka too, and she also jumped. So those were the 4 people that jumped from AEW to WWE. That's either a heck of a coincidence or someone's planning something really cool.
Nobody coincidence that.
No coincidence. Not in professional wrestling. Not a chance.
And then after the Pillman vignette, kind of the NXT girls of the future were kind of giving Asuka her flowers / getting autographs. So cool moment, cool full circle moment with Asuka opening the show in the first match after the Cody announcement with Roxanne, a future NXT star, and then in the back with the rest of the NXT locker room with the girls coming up to her, shaking her hand and thanking her and kind of fangirling out or whatnot. So that was pretty cool for Asuka. And then she was confused. She was confused when Tiffany was just like there and Asuka was like, okay, bye.
And Tiffany called them normies. And I love that. I love that term.
She's a star.
She's great.
She's great for sure. But the Mello versus Breaker match started at 9:49. So kind of we had like a 10 to 12 minute stretch there of just kind of small segments, vignettes and commercials and entrances. So I thought that was a nice pace of things for NXT to set up for the main event. And I like the AEW setup too with the long Christian promo. So these guys have really found their footing and they're ready to go home here. NXT, you have Braun Breaker versus Mello. They go about 12 minutes. And Mello wins. Richie, did you watch this or did you watch the Luchasaurus Edge match?
I'll flip back and forth. I mostly watched this match just because I love the chemistry between Mello and Breaker. They have chemistry that when you see these two together, it's like, oh, we're gonna get a banger of a match. Like, bring up Christian again. Christian had that with Randy Orton. Cena had that with Punk and AJ. You know, you're gonna have that one guy that you have consistent chemistry with, and Melo and Braun definitely have that chemistry. And flipping over to Luchasaurus and Edge, it just jumped right out of the gate. So it was a completely different vibe for that match too, and I felt that was pretty cool having those two matches head to head. But as for Braun and Melo, yeah, they held my interest. Braun being with Heyman doing his introduction a la Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns. That was a nice touch, and also kind of I felt like this was a test for both of them to see how they would not only react to the crowd with Cena and Heyman there, but have like the pressure of a big time situation, since the other company has Adam Copeland's debut match. So I thought that was pretty cool to put them in that spot.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that they never really got out of like third gear on like a 5-gear scale or whatever. But I think that they were very compelling within that formula. And like you said, they have great chemistry. Now, Mark, Edge attacked right out of the bell and just kind of just dragging and selling the first, I don't know, half of this match. And then they would go to commercial on a pitcher break. They go to commercial for fucking, like, it felt like 6 minutes.
It was right at the top of the hour when they went to, there's supposed to be this overrun, and I'm expecting this overrun, and I'm like, okay. And then I started worrying more about getting this set up and being on, which I had a little technical difficulty on that too. But so I was kind of more focused on that than the match, not going to lie to you. But you know, I was very shocked about that commercial at the top of the hour. I figured, like, we've completed everything, let's just get to it. And I was expecting something because they had that extra 10 minutes, something with Edge and Adam and Christian, and they never did it. So I was just, I mean, I know you can't do everything all at once, and you gotta, you know, it's just a step progression. But I thought the match was all right from what I saw, the most of it. I was actually more wanted to see what was happening on the other side, because I knew who was coming out at the end. So I was kind of like one eye on that to see how, you know, who was coming out, and more focused about that than the Edge and Luchasaurus match. But it was all right for all considered there.
So my timestamps, I have 9:58 to 10:04 with a pitcher 5 to 6 minute pitcher.
Yeah, that was
it just felt like Edge was selling a Luchasaurus beatdown the whole time after getting it's just, but like that pace after a 2-hour show, after like a sprint, and then we had like a lull in each kind of flow leading into this. I just felt like the 6-minute commercial on top of the 8-minute Luchasaurus beatdown on Edge just didn't really necessarily feel like the approach they should have went with from an interest standpoint. And going 44 minutes commercial free to start the show, and we have to have a 6-minute commercial at the back end. It just doesn't feel like the correct math for me. It's like we want to put all our chips in the table at the beginning, and we want to brag that we have 44 minutes of commercial free, but then we have to, at the end, when we go for the heat, we kind of throw a dull match and a dull segment. We throw a commercial break right in the middle of it. It just felt like bad scripting, bad pacing, and bad structure of AEW tonight.
When you got John Cena at the end, and you should probably have more action on AEW side, but they, like you said, they backloaded the commercials, which when the quarters come out tomorrow and all that, you're going to see it was probably a huge mistake on their part, and I'm sure they're going to regret that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's close one on the NXT side here. They go home at 8:04. Yes, Christian is better than Edge. It's back and forth in the career. I'll stick up for Edge a little bit. Edge has higher highs. Christian.
I was gonna say that's news. That's news that Christian's better. I've always thought.
And they're a long time.
I know. I'll stick up for Edge. He has high highs. Christian's batting average is much more consistent.
As great as Metalingus is, Christian had better themes throughout his entire career. I will.
Whoa. I don't know what that was, but okay.
Yeah. Well, that's Christian's Captain Charisma.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta go like
that. Not this.
Yeah. Okay.
I was rough with it. All right, edit. Mark for edit, guys.
You're a little rough.
All right, Jenny. Broad Breaker and Carmelo go 12 minutes. Carmelo wins the match clean, pretty much.
Yep.
And then we have Solo coming out. Cena runs him out. I kind of love how Cena grabbed the steps and moved them by happenstance for a certain motorcycle can come putting around. So I love it in a tight arena, by the way. So I love the teamwork there, and I love the layout, and it just feels the small things go a long way in laying out a show. So I thought that was really cute. When I saw that happen, I saw Taker come out, I was like, my little light bulb went out there. But overall, Jenny, like I said, I thought it was a pretty good match. Wasn't match of the night, but to allude to Richie's, they have just a perfect connection, and it was a good mix of. It didn't need to be a home run of a match. It was just a good mix for what we brought here. What did you think of the whole Undertaker thing, Jenny?
I liked it. I liked the match too. I thought it was just what it should be. Good main event for TV. And
Rocco.
Does Braun usually wear the word badass on his ass? Because I didn't think so either. So I was like, that was a huge Taker clue right there that we were going to get him at the very end here. And but I loved the reaction of the crowd when the light went out, and everybody getting their phones out and just kind of freaking the fuck out, waiting for the big entrance. We didn't get as big of an entrance as I thought we could have maybe had here for Taker.
Very surprised with Kid Rock, American Badass.
Yeah,
running the dough for that. I did not. I thought he was going to be Dead Man, but
you would think Dead Man, but yeah, but Taker though looked. Not as fresh as some of our other legends that has showed up on this show. Say what you will about Cena's hairline, but he looked good. And Taker looked old.
He's enjoying retirement.
Yeah, a little beer belly going on there.
He stood with his hands on his hip like this, like he was looking over at the lawn. And I was like, honey, you don't need to do that in the ring. Just don't ever stand like that in the ring. But, you know, he did a good job putting over whoever he's supposed to put over. And Braun looked like he was having fun, and Carmelo looked like he was really enjoying the show, too.
But overall, Richie, did you think it was the correct move to end like this? I honestly kind of forgot about The Undertaker. The match was, was just flowing, man. It was just like it kept piquing my interest, and I wasn't waiting for The Undertaker, and I kind of forgot until I was like, oh shit, Undertaker.
Maybe by design they did that.
I believe they definitely did that by design, because if you remember the promo like video package they did with who's coming, like Cody, Cena, Asuka, Heyman, they're all coming, and then at the end you hear the gong, you know, and they were very smart about that because they never outright said Taker's coming, but you knew that Taker was going to show up some way, shape, or form, you know. And when Braun was cutting that promo, and then you just hear the gong. And then everyone just loses their mind for Undertaker, and Undertaker coming to NXT. That's even more major. Personally, I thought it'd be funny if he like resurrected Von Wagner, since he got his head smushed in like a couple of weeks ago. Obviously that didn't happen, but one can dream. But him putting over Braun, putting over the whole NXT locker room, just saying it's like, like, kid, you're good, but you're not here yet, you know. So I thought that was a pretty cool way to give Braun some shine, and showing him that he still has much to learn, as the Undertaker has told him here tonight.
Now, Mark, were you expecting to get a TED Talk out of the Undertaker?
I was wishing for that too, actually.
Mark, do you think it was the correct use of the Undertaker here? And who do you, just like WrestleMania 34, or excuse me, 24, do you expect the Undertaker to kind of outlast Edge here in the main event from a rating standpoint?
Oh, he's gonna, like, I didn't forget Undertaker was coming. I knew he was. The gong. I knew like what spot he was coming out, and then when everybody disappears, you're like, oh, he's coming now. So I was hoping into seeing like what they were gonna do and what he was gonna look like. I didn't think he was gonna be out of shape or like beer belly Undertaker, but it is what it is. And it was a smart move to have the motorcycle, and so he didn't have to walk down the ring, even though it was a short walk. Unless they were gonna like levitate him to the,
You mean wheelchair him down?
Wheelchair him out there, because boy, did he was just standing in that one spot, and he was not moving for anybody. But it was the correct thing to do. I mean, and I, people are going to say, well, Edge is old and he's in the main event, but I mean, homeboy, Taker's older than him, and they, you knew he was coming. So the tribalism of fans are going to be out there saying, well, AEW is doing this, but WWE doesn't do that. Well, they did it tonight. They had, one of their biggest stars ever out there, and he's not exactly, a spring chicken anymore, but it was the correct use to, put over Braun as kind of the future, but not yet kind of the future, kind of put him in his place. So, but I mean, there's going to be no match as far as I know. I mean, unless this is going to be a Mania match this year, God forbid, but he better start working on that.
Not with that.
This was all for cheap.
It's all ratings. This is all.
I'm gonna say I don't think Taker can survive a Braun spear. If he does, then he's gonna collapse into dust.
He's gonna break him in half, legit.
And that's no shame on Taker, but geez, I don't want to see him take another spear ever again, because I don't want him to break in half.
To die.
Anything, just boneyard match, and that's it, dude. Call it a day.
A boneyard match was the perfect way to go out.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And going out to Metallica too, man. What a guy.
As you should.
Yeah.
Triple H and Hayes crushed that. All right, and on the AEW side, Edge and the whole Blackpool combat attacking Christian and all that. It was a good way to go off the air on the AEW side of things to kind of, and really they did a really good job throughout the night to lead the Collision. You had the opening match to face Christian on Collision. They hyped Collision throughout. So Collision going against No Mercy, and then this week going against Fastlane was some tough sledding. So they should have a good week this week on Collision this weekend, and they're kind of building up the show to get there. So overall, I liked both shows. I want personally. All right, let's go around. I'm going to ask you guys two things. I personally want the war back. I want to dedicate one night of wrestling, one night a week to watch both these shows. I had a blast going on my two screens. I kind of paid a little bit more attention to NXT as it was on the bigger TV, but it just felt like the vibe was there. Jenny, let's start to you. Would you watch AEW and NXT more if they were on the same night? And do you kind of miss the petty wars of it all?
So I didn't participate in the original wars, so I don't have any of that weird flipping nostalgia. I hate flipping channels. I'm just going to be honest with you. It made me want to watch more NXT. So hope that answers that question.
Good. And Mark, do you miss the wars, the pettiness, and all that stuff?
I miss
the tribalism to an extent.
I miss all that. And
yes,
up here we never had the opportunity to have the switching, because Nitro and Raw did not air at the same time, or they actually kind of aired sort of on the same station at different times of the night, one at like 8 and one at midnight. So we never got that up here. The only time we ever really got it, believe it or not, was the TNA short-term 2010 Monday Night Wars. So that was the best I could do. There was no nostalgia about that tonight, but
war,
quote unquote war. But the pettiness, and all the, what's going on now, guys going back and forth, and I like that, and I'm enjoying the the chatter about that online, and just seeing where where everybody thinks and whatever, who's on whose side again. I love wrestling, so I just want both companies to be good and to have this pettiness go on between them, and they do these fun things once in a while where we can come on YouTube and shoot the breeze about it, and our friends and who whatnot watch this and say, yeah, I agree, or no, I don't agree, kind of thing. So I hope we can see some more of that in the future.
All right, Richie, you're a man of history. What did you think? All right, don't put that one up. We're not reliving this, guys. Rocco, go. No, Rocco. No, it's not.
Big fan of South Africa, Ryan is.
There's my Captain Charisma. Not like I was reaching for a tissue. All right. Come on, we're an hour and 10 in. I haven't got canceled yet.
All right, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
And Richie, do you miss the wars? Do you think it was good? It's the best thing for both companies.
I think it is. I think competition is good for both companies. For the war in general, we saw that one show had to migrate to another day just for survival of itself. So I think competition is good, but is the war necessarily good for it? Yes and no, because again, if this was a weekly occurrence, there are going to be some shows that aren't going like all out. There are going to be some shows like either due to injury or like you're going to have people going back and forth. Because if you see, this is right after the NXT AEW War, which you can listen onto my newest episode of the podcast, Wrestling Retold and Relived with Richie Mars. That
Richard.
It was very expensive, I'll have you know. Paid a lot of money for this plug. But right after NXT went to Tuesdays, they gained about 300 to 400,000 viewers that night when they went to Tuesdays. And with AEW, same thing. They went over 1 million the week they were unopposed to NXT. So the competition is good on the same night, but consistently, like at least in this day and age, now with internet, now with YouTube, now with more ways of streaming, I just don't think the war is just kind of worth it for both companies at this point. Once in a while, yeah. For long term, I don't think that will help at least AEW in the long run. I think WWE is kind of like Coca-Cola at this point, you know. AEW's Pepsi. So Pepsi is still going to be around, but is it going to be the juggernaut Coke is? You know, probably not.
That's why I wouldn't rule out WWE collecting their eggs the last 2 years, pretty much getting their generals in order and kind of going back at them, where AEW is significantly lesser from a interest standpoint and a rating standpoint and a momentum standpoint and a goodwill standpoint. They might be a little bit more vulnerable. It's kind of like they kind of switched roles a little bit, like you said earlier, Mark, in a way. So I can totally see Triple H really wanting to they're propping up these NXT ratings and putting all these stars on here to increase the numbers. I can see them really going at them, or even jumping on like an Amazon and first running it against AEW where there wouldn't be a rating. You know what I mean? Where they could only take away from the AEW rating and you're on a streaming platform that no one knows what you're getting. So I think that's the personal approach that Triple H and the NXT guys are going to want to take, is put themselves somewhere where they're not going to, where they're going to get a big money value, and they're just going to take away from AEW, like a slick way. So there's a war without being a war, a safe war on the WWE side of things. So that's just my prediction. But anyways, let's make one more prediction on tonight before we get out of here. Richie, hot seat to you. Who is going to win the ratings war? And give me some low-key numbers here.
NXT is going to win the ratings war hands down. I don't think it's going to be really that close. For Dynamite, they usually do 800,000. I feel comfortable saying they might do high 600s, low 700s. And with NXT, I wouldn't be surprised if they hit close to 1 million, if not more than that.
Well, I would be surprised if NXT AEW be that low. You want to take a swing at it, Mark? What do you got?
I'm gonna say NXT is gonna blow them out of the water. Up there, I will say definitely down here. You'll read it in the Observer next week if you get it, because that's the only time I ever see the numbers. NXT will lose to AEW up here, but in the States, it's
really?
not. Yeah, we AEW, whatever, a little bit hotter up here apparently, not cold like it is in the States, but AEW I think will definitely not win the night up in your neck of the woods, Northern Hemisphere, or actually Southern Hemisphere in Jenny's case, apparently.
Still not in the Southern.
I know it isn't. I know geography.
Hey, I'm not a weatherman, guys. All right, anyway, Jenny, you want to take a swing at it?
Or an English person. 10,400,715 views for NXT.
Strong.
Big number.
6,470 views for AEW.
Wow, so that's about 20-1 right there.
I called them like a season.
I'm actually going to go like 880 for NXT. I'll go 790 for AEW. I don't think we're going to get as high. I think they're going to kind of steal from each other a little bit, even though combined, if us three kind of combined could equal 7, you know what I mean? Us 4 could equal 7 in a way for a rating standpoint for us flicking around. So That's that. All right, guys. That's it for this episode. Mark, first time. Jeff, fun, buddy?
I did, yeah. Thanks for putting up with me and my awkwardness. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you did good.
Call that Canadian. Jenny, thank you as always.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And Richie, thanks again, and we'll see you soon, buddy. And
Thank
YouTubers
you.
and everyone else, thank you for jumping along. It was fun. And we'll see you in the next one, guys.